Welcome to Cooking the Books, the food and hospitality podcast discussing all aspects of the industry. We interview chefs, butchers, brewers, winemakers, restaurateurs, restaurant managers, and we talk about how they got to this point, through the good times and the bad, and what they've got planned for the future. This is Cooking the Books. This week on the podcast, I had Banjo. Banjo runs or is part of 4 businesses. He has a wine bar business called Bar Liberty. He has a restaurant bar called Capitano. He has an online subscription wine-based business called The Wine Gallery. And he also runs a hospitality conference / assembly called Grow, which I've been to a few of them, and they're fantastic. It's just he gets a bunch of like-minded hospitality people with their trying to spread their story. Anyway, he tells us more about it within the podcast. If you're into business or entrepreneurship, you're going to hopefully enjoy this podcast. Banjo for me is a massive inspiration. He runs businesses. He always has the customers' interests in mind, making sure they get the best experience. And yeah, he does things the right way, and he's trying to spread the word for the hospitality industry. So I hope everyone enjoys this. This week, as always, we are brought to you by City Larder, the charcuterie specialists, specialising in terrines, pâtés and rillettes. City Larder are now taking on new stockists in the build-up to Christmas. If you're interested in stocking Australia's finest charcuterie in your retail store or food service business, you can get in touch with Rebecca via the website or social media. Now, over to the show. Banjo, thank you very much for doing this. First of all, I want to say apologise for last week. I really did. I missed it. I got it all wrong. Anyway, yeah, thanks for getting us this space and letting us use this space. And it's the first time I've actually used a podcast room here at Worksmith. It's fantastic. So this should be the best audio going. So thanks very much for doing it and all the rest of it. Yeah.
Anytime, it's a pleasure. Nice to catch up.
Yeah, definitely. So just take 2 seconds and just tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, of course. So we know each other from way back. We used to work together in Sydney. I've worked in restaurants my whole life. And about 3 years ago, with a group of friends, struck out on our own, and we opened a little wine bar in Fitzroy called Bar Liberty. It's been running for about 2.5 years now, and we've been doing okay. You know, it's a small place which has its challenges, but we feel like we're hitting the mark now. You know, it's a really esoteric but broad-ranging beverage offering with a slightly tighter, more compact, ever-evolving kind of menu, and we just wanted to make a place that was comfortable and a place that we would enjoy going on our days off. Yeah, so nice. We get a lot of support from the hospitality industry. There's heaps of people coming in wanting to try something interesting on the wine list, or really just kick back and have a few cocktails and kind of relax on their day off. So that's really nice. And then about a month ago, we opened another restaurant in Carlton. It's called Capitano. It's kind of loosely modelled on a New York red sauce pizza kind of joint. So it's pizza, pasta, veal parmigiana, a heap of salads, a heap of kind of charcuterie.
Neighbourhood style.
Neighbourhood style, you know, but sort of revamped for, I guess, the modern Australian market. So it's it looks really nice. I feel like it's more polished than Bar Liberty is, whereas Bar Liberty's got a kind of raw edge to it, which I really like. Yeah. This is kind of more neighbourhood, slightly more family, but it's got a really nice vibe as well. Yeah, child-friendly, absolutely. Yeah, we've got high chairs, we've got everything. You know, come there on a Saturday lunch. There's a parking bay for prams.
We're going on Monday dinner.
So good. Awesome. Yeah. So it's real nice. It's real democratic. You know, everyone eats pizza, so it's a bit more approachable. And we took the same approach with the beverage list. There's certainly some quirky stuff on there, but it's a bit more approachable. So yeah, that's my restaurant side of things. In the past, I had a wine import wholesale kind of business with a friend of mine, but I recently sold my share of that to him, so he took that on full time. I spent a bit more time doing the restaurant thing, and I've also, you know, probably my biggest project at the moment is called The Wine Gallery. It's an online wine subscription business. Yeah,
I can't wait to dig into this.
This
excites me big style.
So it really excites me at the moment as well. You know, it's been going for, I guess, just over 3 years, but in the last 12 or 18 months, it's really taken off. And like I said, it's really what I'm spending most of my time on at the moment. We set out to, I guess, demystify the world of wine. I know so many people who love wine, but I guess get intimidated or confused by all the jargon around
Easily confused.
And
Bloody hell.
the people at the top sometimes kind of talk down to the people that don't know and kind of keep that knowledge a little bit secret. And
Well, it's great that you recognise that.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely a fact.
There's
no two ways about
totally.
that.
Like I picked up on that working my whole life in restaurants in a position of kind of wine teaching and like as a sommelier basically.
Because you are a sommelier. You're a sommelier trained, aren't you?
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I should have mentioned that at the start. Absolutely.
No.
Yeah, that's my background. So worked at restaurants in Sydney like Bentley, Key and Est, and then came to Melbourne and spent 5 years at Attica. And then when I left Attica, opened Bar Liberty. So it's kind of like a quick rewind. But yeah, like I would work with people on the floor who weren't sommeliers, but were working in these high-end restaurants, and they loved wine. Like they fucking loved wine, but they didn't know too much about it. But they just wanted to learn and were keen about it. And then you had these sommeliers who knew a heap about it, but like weren't very good people.
Yeah.
And so like they wouldn't share the knowledge. And it always seemed like this really weird disconnect. Like the point of knowledge is not to keep it to yourself.
Definitely.
It's to share it. And so
that's a little bit. I find that a little bit insecurity, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah,
Do you know
totally.
what I mean? Not confident in yourselves. Like,
Absolutely.
You know, it's like that thing you want to employ people better than you.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
not an easy thing to do. That's a really hard thing to do.
You've got to surround yourself with enthusiastic people who you see have potential to be stronger, and people
Take
who have
your business
other
forward.
skill sets.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And so I was recognising this when I was working in Sydney, I guess. And then I came to Attica, and it was a small restaurant, and I was restaurant manager and head sommelier. And so I was doing like a heap of training all the time. And everyone that we employed was super passionate about food, wine, the restaurant industry, everything. But they had various levels of wine knowledge. And so all of our wine trainings were focused on being inclusive and getting everyone around the table and making sure that everyone kind of understood and was comfortable about talking about these wines to the guests. Because at the end of the day, the guests coming into the restaurant, the majority of them knew less about wine than we did. So we needed to know that the way we were communicating to them was an understandable kind of way.
At their level as well. So you bring it down again.
Yeah, but bringing it down, but not being
Patronising.
patronising and also not dumbing it down necessarily. It's more around the communication of the knowledge. It's not like making it simpler. It's just making it easier to understand.
Yeah. Well, that's the art of a great teacher, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. Like I forget who said it, but it's I think it's quite a famous quote is that you don't fully understand something unless you can teach it to someone else.
100%.
Yeah. So I was working at Attica and kind of thinking about all of this, and my co-founder at the wine gallery is a guy called Tom. He lives in Sydney, and he's got a banking background, but he went to France to study at this really fantastic business school, basically. And while he was over there,
in French? Is that in French?
He was doing some classes in French.
Oh.
He had to kind of teach himself French, and it was a bit of a struggle.
Smart
dude,
guy.
yeah, real smart dude. But while he was over there, the biggest thing he took away, apart from all the learnings at business school, was all of his colleagues, whether they were French or just from other parts of Europe, knew a hell of a lot more about wine than him. So on their days off, they'd go to the park with a couple of bottles of wine, or they'd go to the bottle shop and just grab a few bottles, or they'd go to a restaurant. Yeah, exactly. They'd get all this stuff. And everyone seemed to know like the different types of cheese, the different varieties of wine, the different regions. Yeah. And he says in his own words, like he felt really dumb and he felt really out of place. And he came back to Australia and he realised that all of his friends were like that. They didn't know anything. And it was almost like a cultural revelation. He was like, how do people not know about it, but everyone drinks the stuff?
Yeah.
And
so just cutting there,
yeah, totally,
I really feel like that culture of knowing wine, being exposed to wine from a young age, also takes away that boozy drinking, that big right on the piss.
Absolutely,
like, lads,
yeah.
When it's an actual, this is an education. There's actually people putting hard work into this, and it's looked upon as opposed to just like chucking. Don't get me wrong, I love chucking pints down my neck and having a good time with the boys when the foot is on. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not out every weekend. I'd much prefer to sit down and have a bottle of wine. And I don't know, my parents, I was always allowed to drink from like 14 years old in my house. Nothing crazy, don't get me wrong, but I would have a beer with my dad at 14, 15, no problem on a sunny day. There was no taboo about that, you know. Yeah. So I think that really helps, that education with that lager lout or whatever you would call it.
I think it's a similar thing, like you grew up in England, it's a similar thing here in Australia. For a lot of people, there's a hard cap, like you don't drink until you're 18.
Yeah.
I think if you are allowed little bits and pieces before that certainly helps. It's definitely a cultural thing, as you say, like wine with food as opposed to drinking beer to get pissed kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
There's two kind of sides to the coin there. Definitely having an appreciation of the artistic side of things, like as you say, the craft, really good word, yeah, totally. So all the hard work that's gone into it and seeing it as a like not just a drink, recognizing the historical and cultural significance of, different varieties of grapes that are grown in certain areas and made in a certain way.
And the struggle that people go through to create that,
Totally.
You know better than anyone, but like the steep vineyards where people are, struggling to get up there, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's ended the wine game. Man, the food's crazy.
Yeah.
The wine game is crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, how did you find your love for wine? Like you don't from lemonade, Coca-Cola to wine. It's a big jump.
Hey, so I was really lucky. I grew up in Adelaide, and my parents didn't come from a gastronomic background, but my mum trained as a chef, and my parents owned 2 restaurants when I was a kid. So one was in a little seaside town in country South Australia.
Yeah.
It was a bed and breakfast kind of place. And then when we moved back to Adelaide, the big city in South Australia, my parents opened a restaurant in right in the heart of the city. So while I was going through school, there was a job for me there. I was working on the floor. I was polishing glasses. I was helping out every weekend. I'd do like a little stock take in the cellar with my dad.
Oh, nice.
There was always wine on the table at home. Like my parents would always drink wine.
Yeah.
And so I got, I guess, more of an education than I realised at the time about regions and grape varieties and stuff like
Just
that.
slowly, right? Trickled in.
Man,
When
it's
you're
just like
surrounded by-
osmosis,
yeah,
man.
Yeah,
It just seeps
osmosis,
in.
great word.
So by
again.
the time I was 20, I would go out to dinner and maybe I'd have a friend along and I'd be like, oh, can I have a glass of Pinot or something like that?
Yeah.
And my friend would be like, what are you talking about, man? I'll just have a beer.
Yeah,
Immediately I realised that I'd learnt more than I thought. And then after uni, I went to London and was working in restaurants over there. And then I realised how much I didn't know, and then just got a massive education, because London and New York are the 2 main epicenters for the global wine trade. You can get wine from any country in the world, any region, any grape variety. You're just inundated with wine.
Yeah.
So I came back to Australia after working in London, and I was like, far out, this is amazing. I feel like I know everything.
And what's it like learning? You just feel like you're on cloud 9. Do you not reckon?
Totally, man.
Yeah,
Every time you learn something else, it's like, wow, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
And then you come across a new grape variety, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And at that time, when you're young, you just have a thirst for it. I'm not
Course.
saying I'm old
No,
now,
no,
but
I get
when
it.
you're really young, you're like,
Yeah.
bang, I want this, I want this, I want
And
this.
just books and books and books.
That's
and
it, man. Books,
just drink-
tasting, everything, man. Everything was so exciting.
It really is. So you've worked in that big restaurant, referring to Key and all that, and you've worked in the still a fantastic standard, don't get me wrong, but a smaller restaurant, adding covers and staff and all the rest of it. And now you've also got the wine bar. What would you say is the benefits to working in the large, going to small, the benefits and the negatives between the two? You might, in the large, you might get more options to meet more staff and more tastings, more samples, this might be thing, but a smaller one, you get a bit more one-on-one coaching or whatever it might be.
Yeah, so from a few different points of view there, I guess from working in a place, in a big venue, I definitely think there's more opportunity. There's more scale, generally more people around to mentor you and to educate you, bigger team, more people to bounce ideas off, a little bit more flexibility, I guess. But certainly in a smaller venue, and this might not hold true everywhere, but it's certainly the experience I had, smaller, more intimate places versus bigger, dare I say it, slightly more commercial venues.
Yeah.
There just seemed to be more of an inherent passion for every single detail in smaller places. And like I said, this is just my personal experience. It's not
and that's all you can give it on, can't you?
Yeah, true. So, certainly in a small place, you're spending more time with the guest. There's hopefully, I won't say more care because that doesn't sound right, but there's more emotional investment in every single detail. And so you really get to put your stamp on various different things. And I think it takes a really brave and very clever restaurant owner to institute that level of care and detail on a really big scale.
Yeah. There's less communication needed. Do you know
In a
what I mean?
smaller place?
In a smaller place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Smaller
obviously
team.
when it's Chinese whispers, there's always an element of where it can break down the communication. I guess less communication barriers, more attention to detail in some aspects. I guess. Do you know what I mean?
And generally, I think because there's less, what's the word I'm looking for? There's less depth in the hierarchy in a smaller place. So generally, the people who have the vision and the ideas and the ownership
are next to you, aren't they?
Are next to you. They're working in it. They're touching it. In a really big place, the guy who writes the menu, is probably not there.
Yeah.
Like he's not cooking.
Yeah,
he writes
yeah.
the menu, but he's not cooking. The guy who writes the wine list is not doing service. Like there's many instances where the people are a little bit more removed. So
Yeah.
I think just the, you know, it must be the same in any industry. A small business, like all that passion, all that care, maybe not the commercial kind of scale, but in a bigger place, you know, like more spread, more opportunity, but maybe the smaller things, like I'm not saying they get passed over, but you know, maybe it just
I think it's good to work in
there's
both.
other stuff. I totally agree.
Yeah, because I find in the big ones they always have a lot more structured systems. This is how we do it, you know, like
Absolutely.
it's not
And
a
that's
bit
really
more
important if you want to grow. Like you need
exactly,
to do that.
Exactly. This is how we do. Like I said, key. I remember it was like non-verbal communication.
Yeah.
You know, that was fantastic. I thought that, you know, I learned that there, which I thought, you know, that is always one, that is always two, that is always three, that is always four, and then you don't even have to talk about it. So learning them systems is fantastic, you know.
True.
But then on a smaller one, that real, like exactly, I'm just going across what you just said, but working next to that person, you can really feel that person's enthusiasm and it really rubs off on you. Do you know what I mean?
Big time.
Which is, And then again, you've now got a bar, which again I would say is a smaller venue again from them two.
For sure.
What was the thought process? Why didn't you go into? I know now you've got the restaurant, but why didn't you go into that? Was it why a bar?
I guess it was like a time and a place kind of thing. That was where I was at the moment. Like I have worked in high end restaurants my whole life. The wine bar that we have is certainly the most casual place I've ever worked in, and as much as I love going out to really lovely restaurants, it's not somewhere that I want to go all the time. I don't think anyone does.
Yeah.
In terms of having somewhere relaxed, but with good service, interesting booze, tasty food. Like I said, we wanted to create somewhere that we would want to hang out on our day off. So it was really kind of where my head was at, and it just so happened that that's where my business partner's head were at as well. You know, they were keen to do something that had a high level of service and a high level of attention to detail in terms of the product we were serving, but just in a more relaxed kind of way.
Easier way to market as well, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Financially,
Totally. Like I couldn't have afforded to open
Yeah,
a high-end restaurant.
Risk element
Exactly
as well.
right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of pluses, and you know, don't get me wrong. In the future, maybe I would still love to open a high-end restaurant.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a few years away.
Yeah, for sure. What? How did you find the transition between employee to employer?
Yeah, much harder than I thought. You know, I was kind of lucky because at the time when we opened the bar, I was owning my own business, the wine import and wholesale business. So that had taught me a lot already. But that's a wholesale business. It's nothing like a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, like and it was a small business. That was just me and my business partner. We didn't have other employees to manage.
Emotions.
Exactly
and
right.
That. Yeah,
so you know that was kind of a good stepping stone, but still it's a big jump. You need to be ready mentally, emotionally. Like you need to understand the difference. Like even if you're, you know, upper management in a big company, there's still a big change to having your own dollars on the line, and like you really need to know that you don't really have a day off ever. Like, even if you're not at work,
you're thinking about it.
If something goes wrong, man, you got to be there. Like, I remember the first time we got broken into, it was like, fuck, straight in there. You know, like anytime someone's sick, you know, you're the first person, especially in a small business.
Yeah.
Like, you just need to be.
Do you do a bit of the handyman stuff as well?
I am super not handy. I'm really lucky that Michael, my business partner, he takes care of all the maintenance stuff. But like, that's it. Like,
for
you
sure.
can't necessarily afford to employ people to do that kind of stuff. You just got to do it all yourself.
Yeah. So what I started doing is, you know, once someone comes and does something, like for instance, we had a leaky tap. This was just yesterday.
Yeah.
Got the guy out, and I'm like on him like a hawk. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, how do you do? You know, I want to see exactly. So when that tap goes next time, I just do it myself.
You just do it.
I'll save that
Totally.
$180.
Yeah,
I just do because you know, you've just got to be on top of that kind of thing.
That's it. And that kind of stuff happens all the time. It's always about you know, finding the most efficient and cost-effective way to do things.
Yeah.
You know,
We had this double door fridge, and I always portion on a Monday morning. It's just what we always do.
Yeah.
And this one day I had a bit of free time on a Friday. I said, you know, I'm going to portion Friday, and so I get ahead on Monday. So a portion, I do like a lot, three grand's worth. I know exactly 3 grand's worth of stock I portion. Filled the fridges up for the Monday, make my life a lot easier on Monday.
Right.
And I come in on Monday and I looked, you know, at that time I did a quick check around all the fridges, you know, check the temperatures. I was like 3. That fucking decimal point isn't next to in between the 3 and the 0. It's after the 0.
30
degrees. So I went in the fridge, opened the fridge, everything was at 30 degrees. And I did that on the Friday. We shut Saturday, Sunday. So if you want to rob me, Saturday, Sunday's a day to rob me. So, so Monday morning, all the stuff gone in the bin.
What happened? The fridge carked it?
The fridge carked it, yeah.
Oh,
it was
that
hard.
kind of stuff hurts,
yeah,
doesn't it?
Man. And you know, like $3,000, you know what that's like to make $3,000 profit? You know,
to make that in profit, exactly.
It's not easy to make. But the thing is, from then, we've introduced sensors. We put all the sensors.
No way.
Yeah, so we've got sensors in all the fridges.
Yeah. So
and
if one
it
does
runs off one system.
Yeah.
And
so what, you get an alert on your phone or something?
Yeah, I get an alert on my phone. Yeah, exactly. So now there's no drama. And now, you know, you can sleep easier and it's just a lot easier. But, you know, having a small business, man, them kind of little things, like the same being broken into.
Totally. Like getting calls from security at 3 in the morning. Oh, your alarm's not on. Or, we detected movement in sensor 3 in the office and stuff like this. Like,
out of bed. Go down for sure.
You know, and I don't live too far from the bar, and like neither does Michael, neither does one of the other guys. So like if something happens, you're kind of obligated to go and check it out as much as you don't want to.
For sure. Yeah. So what was your thought process? You know, I know you said you wanted to make it a place where you want to go for food, for drinks, my bad. But what was the thought process? It's like, okay, I need to get. Was it your idea? We're going to open a bar. You're working. I'm going to get a bar. I need some partners. You know what I mean?
Not really, to be honest. Like so I left Attica, and Michael, one of my business partners, he had left Attica about.
Oh, you worked together at Attica?
Or 6 months prior, yeah, totally. Okay. And when he left, we kind of said, hey, it would be great to work together again, like let's try and sort something out. And he wasn't really sure what he was doing next. And then, so there's 4 of us in the wine bar. And the other 2 guys, Casey and Manu, they own a place called Rockwell and Sons on Smith Street. And they'd been hunting around for another site at the time, but they weren't really sure what they wanted to do. And they knew Michael, and so they all got talking, and then I left Attica, and so we all started talking, and then we found a site, and then it was just kind of rolling on from there. It was kind of pretty organic. Like we knew the style of place that we wanted to do. We weren't really sure if it was a bar or a restaurant, and to be honest, we probably ended up somewhere in between. Like we take bookings, and you know, like it's not a bar. It's like an upmarket wine bar, I guess. So
and then I find this quite interesting as well. That you've all got other ventures. You've got multiple other bars. Yeah. How do you kind of not fall out? I guess is one thing. You know, with different ideas. It's easy. Totally. Partnerships are fucking difficult. That's no joke. They are difficult.
Totally.
So how do you do that? And then do you all have your own roles to keep that?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the roles thing, it's all pretty specific. So Michael is kind of front of house operations manager and handyman, like we said. Beverage is all on me.
So you look after all aspects of booze. Is that training, buying, what's coming in new?
Taking everything. So that's me. Casey is our chef. He does everything in the kitchen. Is
he a trained chef? Is that
So he's now kind of, I guess, executive chef across Rockwell & Sons, Bar Liberty, and our new place, Capitano.
Oh, good for him. That's fantastic.
But prior to that, he worked at Cutler & Co. for a year and a half. But he's from North America originally. Worked in New York for nearly 10 years. He's worked at some really good places.
Yeah, awesome.
And then Manu, I guess, kind of does operations at Rockwell & Son, but takes care of all the accounts across everything. So we all have very defined roles, and that really helps.
I could imagine that. And if anyone's got a problem, or if someone's got, like, you know, if you want something changing on the menu, or you know, you go on holiday and you see some, whatever it might be, in the Basque region or whatever, or, again, alternatively, some North America, he goes to America and he has some nice bottle of wine from wherever, and he comes over. And do you have, like, weekly or monthly meetings to discuss these kind of things?
We have weekly meetings. In terms of kind of inspiration and ideas, it's, I guess, on a less formal structured thing. Like we'll just say, hey, what about this kind of thing? And that's always happening. Like we're always bringing new ideas to the table, and it's kind of good having 4 of us. Like it generates a good amount of discussion. It sometimes takes more time than it probably should. But we're all pretty comfortable in having our say and bringing things up. I guess.
Does it go to a vote, or how?
Sometimes that's what I was going to say. Having 4 of us makes it tricky sometimes.
Like 2 and 2.
2 and 2, we sometimes don't get anywhere. So that can be challenging sometimes. But I don't know. We've seemed to make it work so far.
It's pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty impressive, and I guess you're all supporting each other in their other businesses as well. You know, it's
absolutely.
Not like. But I guess, and I don't take this wrong, and maybe I'm off the mark here, but I guess it's good when it's going good.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you know
true.
what I
That's
mean?
true. Totally true. You know, like if the business is going well, then it can smooth over
Definitely.
other issues. And I'm not saying there are other issues, but at the same time, like it makes it easier to just kind of keep working and push on, change stuff when you need to, but otherwise you're just getting stuff done. If things were slow and there was no money in the bank, that's when, the tensions really flare up.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Because, it's pressure and all of it. Because it's fucking it's a lot of stress.
Man, it's your livelihood,
Yeah.
Michael and I have both got kids now. Like we've all got multiple businesses, as you say. We've invested our time and our money in it. If something goes wrong, like that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Out on your bum. So
what advice would you give to someone who is looking to open a bar or start a bar, or even a small restaurant?
I think like I said, my journey from employee to owner sort of happened organically. Like I knew in my mind that I had very set ideas about how I wanted things to run, and so I guess the natural progression from manager is to owner if you can make it happen.
Yeah.
I'm really thankful that I had a lot of really good experience at some fantastic places, working in various positions and under various people, and so I was exposed to, I guess, different systems, different management styles. I saw how different organisations were run, front of house and back of house. Like just different systems. I think was really important, and being able to work with people who are organised and passionate was really, really good. You got to have all your ducks in a row. You need to understand how to manage back of house. Like at the end of the day, you can be the best waiter or the best chef or the best sommelier, but if you don't know at least the basics of the financials of a business,
you got to make money.
You got to make money.
It's like a dirty word, isn't it?
I was about to say, you shouldn't be scared of it. There's a lot of stuff about like passion in the restaurant industry getting you a long way, but at the end of the day, like, as an employer, your number one priority becomes looking after your staff and looking after yourself and your family. So if you can't pay your bills, then you're fucked. Like,
people don't understand that. I take that incredibly seriously. How much them employees they're relying on that money. You know what I mean? Like
they're relying on you.
Relying on you to find the business and to make the business work. Because if that business doesn't work, they're not getting the wages. They don't get the wages. You're not paying the rent. Whatever it is, you're going to start looking for a job.
And so then you're not just letting yourself down, you're letting them down, you're letting your suppliers down, like it becomes a big thing. I think having an understanding of that is a really, really important part of it.
I hear these people, and I'm not knocking these people, and everyone should be entitled to give it a go or whatever.
Yeah.
But people have got to remember that you've worked at all these top restaurants, really good restaurants. You've bought wine, you've imported wine. You've worked with a lot of good chefs. This isn't like, I'm just going to open a wine bar. This is like years and years and hours and months and of your whole life.
And you probably don't even realise that you're learning the important stuff at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you stop and you're like, well, actually, at this place we did this, and at this place we do it slightly differently. You put all these things together and you're like, well, actually, I've got a pretty good education in this kind of thing.
Education, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I would never think... I'm going to open a car garage. I'm going to be, but people do this with wine bars and restaurants. They really do. They go.
I love going to restaurants.
I love going to restaurants. I'm going to, what I mean? And then you say, they're getting fleeced by maybe the staff. You know what I mean? People may be taking advantage, or you can't keep on top of it because it can weigh you down. So I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. My advice, but I would say just make sure. You've either got a good partner who is in the industry, if you do want to invest in a business, someone who has been in the business,
I think take it a step back. Like as you said, you would never open a car garage.
Yeah.
So I would say don't open a restaurant or a wine bar if you don't have experience in that. Like, don't do something you don't know anything about.
That's exactly it.
Like, you need to have an understanding of the broader industry, even if it's just a couple of years of experience. But you need to know what the hell you're up against.
Yeah.
Because every industry is competitive. And as we said before, you need to be able to make money. That's like... number one, that's a rule. It's not just like an aim. It's like you got to be making money. If 6 months down the track, you look in the bank, you got no money. You got to pay super. You got to pay like everything. You got to pay your suppliers. You got to pay wages. You got to pay rent. You got to pay electricity. And all of a sudden, you got no money. You're stuffed.
Well, like you said, they're suppliers. Like, it's all right just taking and getting these big credits, 30 days, 50, 21 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you go under, you potentially could put someone else under because of your irresponsibility.
Irresponsible is the word,
It's
totally.
so irresponsible that these people that are doing that. And, it's crazy. What do you think the landscape of the wine bar is looking like?
It's
not
funny.
yours, but in general.
No. It's funny in a place like Melbourne or in Sydney, I guess, where we're getting really solid population growth. And
25 million now, eh?
strong, huh?
Yeah.
people are like keen to go out. Like people think they have expendable income, but at the same time, like property prices are going through the roof, rent's going up, cost of living's going up. So like people want to go out and spend money, which is great for our kind of industry.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like wages aren't going up at the same level. So people maybe don't have the same amount of money they think they do. As we've just discussed, people are opening places without too much experience. So at the end of the day, I would say that we're overcatered for, unfortunately. You know, like there are a lot of great places, but there are also a lot of places that aren't so great.
Yeah.
And so it really is competitive. Like you're fighting for someone's dollar. But that's what you see. Like you see places closing after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years. So it is tough. You know, there's so many elements in getting it right. You've got to be in a great location. You've got to have a great concept. You've got to have great staff. You know, you need the experience we've just talked about in running a place. You need to have a great product. You know, like there's a lot of things that you need to get right. And then it's no guarantee. Like you got to do marketing. You know, like I went from being a sommelier and a restaurant manager to having to do all of these things, like to have an understanding of like wage cost and like wage laws and like dealing with the council and like dealing with super and like all of this stuff that you maybe hadn't considered before. Like, I've got to do my own marketing, you know, like.
And this all takes up heaps of time.
Man, does it ever? Yeah, totally. Yeah. So like I would say never stop looking for a better way to do things. Like you always got to find the efficiencies, whether it's a financial efficiency or a timing efficiency. You always got to look to make things better. Even if you're cruising, like even if you're full every night and like your staff are happy, always look to improve something. Like make things better.
For us, it's time is one as well.
Yeah, totally.
Time. What's the quickest way of keeping the quality, the standard? Obviously, that's priority. That cannot move. That's set in stone. Yeah. But how we get there? How can we get there quicker? How can we get there more efficiently?
And I think we're super lucky at the moment. Like this is something that I talk with my business partner Michael a lot about. We're really lucky to be doing this kind of stuff in 2018, where technology is really, really our friend. So, like in the last few years, the use of programs like Deputy for rostering, Slack for internal kind of team communication.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, so Slack is like an internal workplace messaging system.
Oh,
so we use
like a memo kind of thing.
Yeah. So we use it basically in place of just sending out emails all the time. So everyone has the app on their phone or on the computer, and it's just like we use it to send out notifications about the business, updated menu notes, you know, if there's tastings on, new wine notes, you know, end of night reports. So everyone's got it at their fingertips at any time. They don't need to be in front of a computer. We don't need to print it out. We don't need to do anything like this. Like everyone these days has a smartphone, you know, so everyone's got that information just there, you know, and other stuff as well, like online booking systems, like people don't have to call, and then I've got my book. Like I remember, like I said, my parents had a restaurant when I was a kid.
The book. I love the book.
You love the book?
Yeah.
That's what you do online.
Yeah, for sure. Don't get me wrong. I'm embracing technology, and everyone should embrace it. Don't.
Man, you're running the podcast. You
know?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I embrace technology, and I feel like as well, I'm going to throw it in there, I'm always going on about being dyslexic. Yeah. I always try and get it in there to try and help anyone that feels like it shouldn't.
Yeah.
I really feel like that's the future for dyslexics as well. You know, that being able to now, instead of struggling when I'm texting, I just hit that voice thing and go,
and then you're done.
Helicopter. Poof, it's just there, you know. Otherwise, I'm like, fuck, how do you do that? I'm Googling. No joke. You know, you've then got to Google it, because Google search is better than
predictive,
right. So then you've got to go leave the text, go to Google search, Google search, and then
you just do it on voice.
Copy and paste, then copy and paste that onto your text. It's a fucking disaster. Exactly. Now I just go poof. Do a helicopter, and it just comes straight up. Saves me heaps of time. Yeah, but embrace like zero. That's another one.
Yeah, absolutely.
That one. That was one of our big mistakes. We didn't get zero early enough. Really.
Yeah. Okay.
We did it all by book, because you never think that you're going to get big enough. Like, I don't want to invest whatever it is per month and sign up and whatever.
As you say, it's an efficiency of time. If you can make it do the work for you and free yourself up to do other stuff. Happy days.
Yeah, for sure. It's embrace the technology. I couldn't agree more. And now you have the restaurant. We'll go over the restaurant. Capitano, isn't it?
Yeah, Capitano,
Italian-ish,
exactly.
I've heard.
Yeah. So it's like, what do we say? We say it's Italy by way of New York, by way of Melbourne.
Yeah.
So
perfect.
it's a bit of a mashup.
Bit of a blend.
Yeah.
I'm super jealous of it. I love pizza.
Everyone loves pizza. We love
pizza.
it. So Michael's got Sicilian heritage.
Yeah.
So he always talked about opening an Italian place, but it was always going to be like not traditional, strictly Italian. It's got a bit of a a bit of a spin on it.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And then you come with this idea, I'm going to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
Is that where you got it from? He said, I've got this, I really feel like... how do you get to the end result of being pizza? Because there's so many options you can go down, do you know what I mean?
So...
Do you feel like the market needed that, or...
Look, don't get me wrong, there's heaps of pizza places in Melbourne.
Yeah, there is.
We just... it's not only pizza. Pizza's a part of it.
Yeah.
It's a big part of it, don't get me wrong. But we wanted... Again, I think... You can have great ideas, but the application of those ideas comes from something that you're passionate about. Like, you can't do something fucking well if you don't love it. Like, if you don't believe in it.
Definitely.
So we all love eating pizza as well.
Yeah.
And like we love going to Tipo in the city.
Yeah.
Fantastic
Tipo
pasta.
00,
Yeah, exactly. So we want to do something with pasta as well. We all love like going to cocktail bars. So we knew that like even though there's a restaurant, we wanted to have a bar portion of it as well. And so we just kind of jammed all these ideas together. Like I said, there's 4 of us, lots of roundtable discussions, lots of brainstorming. It's like, okay, you can just kind of make it fit.
It's pizza's so nostalgic. It's I've got my eye on a site, but I always see this site and I think, man, I'd love to put a little pizza place in there. Yeah, I'd love
Make it happen, bro.
Yeah, maybe one day. Actually, I'm pretty interested in like now you've got the 2 venues.
Yeah.
Like, how do you? I feel like that because you've got so much going on. You're like a operator that maybe I'm wrong. Isn't involved on the floor as much as you used to be. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, that is absolutely true. And to be honest, I don't know if I could be. Like, as you say, time, efficiency, that kind of thing. Like, I'm still doing 2 nights a week at Liberty and 1 night every couple of weeks at Capitano.
Yeah. And how do you... Do you just put trust in people? Is that the goal?
Man, you have to. As we said at the start of this chat,
so you get a manager.
You've got to employ people that have the ability to be better than you, and also like you need to give them some ownership. I think if I look back on my history of being a manager, that would be a mistake that I've certainly made. It's not allowing people the space to grow into positions and make their own mistakes, but learn from them and grow to become fantastic managers on their own. Like if you're always overseeing someone and saying, I do it this way, do it this way, do it this way, then, they'll always do it that way, but they'll lose the ability to think for themselves and they'll always kind of say, I've got to do it like Banjo says kind of thing. Like, that's a mistake, you got to let people make decisions on their own. And so that way you can step away and they make the decisions. And, like, at the end of the day, like, don't get me wrong, really serious business. It's my life. But if we get something wrong, we're not doing brain surgery. Like, no one's dying.
Yeah. We can sort it out.
We can sort it out, exactly.
A nice letter or, a free... Come
free
back and have
champagne,
dinner.
Everything. So there's always ways around it. Like, obviously, you'd prefer it if that mistake didn't happen. But at the end of the day, I think that's a really important point for any manager aspiring to kind of take that step and maybe step back from the restaurant in a day-to-day kind of sense and be more operational. Yeah. Like, I truly believe you still do need to be touching it, most days. Like, I'm in both venues 6 or 7 times a week, but in terms of doing hours on the floor, like I said, I'm only doing 2 or 3 services.
So what you do, you just rock in, go and chat to people, how's it all going?
Yeah, man, like I'm there to do ordering and training and stock taking anyway, and then I just make sure I'm there and, we check in and have chats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to say that. What about, what they call when you sit down one-on-one and what they call Appraisals, yeah. Do you do all that as well, or do you just a bit more slack, a little bit more?
We do, but I guess they're slightly more casual. Like we do them annually, but we do them month to month or
just
or
when you're
quarterly.
next to someone. How's it going?
Yeah, totally.
Are you still enjoying it?
Any issues at the moment? Any ideas?
Like anything we can do to make it better for you?
Totally. We're always doing like little staff meetings. We have wine training once a week. We have briefing every day. We have a staff meeting every now and then, and it's always about, as we said before, looking for ways to continually improve, and that can be on a big scale or it can be just for one employee. Like, what's a way that we can improve what you're doing? Yeah,
educating the staff and giving them, and them understanding that you're putting time into them to progress them in their future is a great way of keeping hold of your staff as well.
Absolutely, like they need to know that they've got a pathway and a progression, and they need to feel cared for. And as you said, the education thing is huge. Like, after a while, like, there's not many people who can just do the same thing day in, day out without learning something and enjoy it. Yeah, that's where, with what we're doing, trying to keep that, because it's manufacturing, and we have chefs, the great guys, Franz and Tim, they're phenomenal boys, and trying to keep them motivated, doing the same things, and trying to bring them on with the marketing and letting them know what we're doing, and trying to grow in that way. So, and I try and give them
because like I say, we're not in a restaurant, so there's not loads of recipes. We're not changing the menu weekly.
Yeah,
and we're not,
sure.
You know, where let's do this, and the way I do the puree dauphinoise, or like
it needs to be the same. It's the opposite. It
exactly,
needs to be the same every time.
Exactly. So therefore, I try and give them show them how I'm speaking to suppliers, giving them the opportunity to do ordering, making sure that they understand they need to look after these little things, because when they get a business, if they do want to get a business, these are the things, and trying to teach them more about the business side of things. Yeah. Not that I'm any fucking Richard Branson or anything, but just the little things.
But you've got the experience again. You know, like you learned those things when you were working for other people, and like you wanted to learn. So it makes sense that other people want to take on some of that knowledge as well.
So what's Grow?
Yeah, we have
Grow Assembly. Grow Assembly, which I love. I know what it is, obviously. Yeah. But what it is.
Yeah, so we haven't spoken about that. So I'll go right back to the beginning. Like when I was working at Attica, I was really lucky. I got taken to MAD in Copenhagen with a few of the guys from the restaurant team, and I was blown away. That was kind of like the first big food conference festival thing that I'd been to, and it was just like this massive overload of ideas and information that really set my brain on fire.
Which is run by René Redzepi, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And it's a conference for chefs and growers and producers.
Everything. Anyone who's
sustainability,
kind of interested in the future of food and restaurants and wine and anything like that. So people, basically 200, 300 people in a room. They do theirs in a big circus tent, so that everyone's in a tent. There's a stage at the front. Throughout the day, 8, 10, 12 people get up, present an idea, try and inspire people. Yeah. It was really special. The year after that, maybe it was 2 years after that, we did a similar thing at Attica. So Ben Shuri organised a similar thing, got chefs in from all around the world, and I got invited to speak about booze. And then, like the year after that, I got invited to go to New York and speak at this thing called the Welcome Conference, which is
you spoke at that?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was amazing.
Yeah,
really
were you nervous?
Yeah, really nervous. Really nervous. Yeah. But you get over it, I guess. Like once you're up on stage and you're talking about something that you're passionate about and you're comfortable about, then it comes. And so I got back home after that, and I was talking again with my business partner Michael, and also with my wife Maira, and we were talking about like how inspiring these days were, and how much we got out of them, and how people working in the restaurant industry, they are so passionate. There's so much passion that exists in our industry, and maybe they don't have an outlet for it, and maybe also they don't have the time or the framework to get an education or exposure to these kind of ideas. So like how do you go from being a chef to becoming René Redzepi? How do you go from being a farmer to someone who's suddenly growing like rare breed, biodynamic wheat varieties that are being used to make some of the best bread in the world? Like how do you change the future of food and restaurants? Like how do you become someone who has these amazing ideas? And we decided that part of that step was being exposed to these ideas by people who had achieved success already. Yeah. And so we looked around in Australia and we were like, fuck, there's nothing really like this on a regular basis. Why don't we try and do something, like take ideas from MAD and from the Welcome Conference and from some of these other fantastic conferences that we've been to, and try and do something Australian. And so there's 4 of us that are organising it. We're 2 couples, so me and my wife and Michael and his partner, and we started 3 years ago, and it's designed as a conference, food, wine, hospitality for the hospitality industry in Australia. Yeah. And so we invite people from all aspects of that. They can run a hotel, they can be a baker, they can make beer, they can be a sommelier, they can be a PR agent for restaurants, heaps of coffee people. Yeah. So like all different aspects, and we get them in a room up on stage, and they tell people about what they've achieved or an idea that they have, or success that they've somehow achieved in their industry, and then we put on a lunch, and like they get to mingle with the crowd and people can ask them questions and stuff like that. And
I've been to 2.
Yeah, cool. I know. I remember I saw you the first one. I was stoked.
The first one was in the circus tent.
Yeah, in the circus tent.
And then one in Abbotsford as well.
One in Abbotsford, we did a little coffee one in Collingwood, and we did one in Sydney earlier this year. Yeah. And the next one is going to be November the 19th in Melbourne.
Oh, is it a Sunday?
It's a Monday.
Oh, it's a Monday.
So we're changing it up this time. It's kind of a bit of an experiment. So we've moved location every time, and we think that's good to keep it fresh. Yeah, we've just kind of thought that I guess some people in restaurants, especially in the latter
Sunday,
half of the
Monday,
year, they generally have to work on Sundays, maybe
Yeah,
leading up
yeah.
to Christmas. We thought we'd try it on Monday. If it doesn't work, we'll go back to Sundays. If it does, fantastic.
Yeah. Can I just put my 2 cents in there?
yeah,
I don't
man,
know if
go
you
for
do
it.
this.
Yeah.
You should turn it into a podcast.
Yeah?
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, okay.
No two ways about it.
Yeah.
I really believe you should just.
So we film everything.
Yeah,
and,
and-
yeah.
yeah,
You've seen the videos?
Yeah, I've watched the videos
Yeah,
a few
cool.
times.
Cool.
But just my opinion.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
There's a lot more people nowadays listening as opposed to watching. Watching takes up time.
True. You
You've
can,
got-
you
you've got
can
to-
listen anywhere.
Anyway,
Driving, on the train.
yeah. So you've got
true.
to turn it into a podcast series. And even if the ones that you've got now, look,
Yeah.
you've got to. I'm not fucking telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Who am I? Like,
No,
believe
no.
me. But
Any
even the ones
feedback's
you've got
awesome.
now
Yep.
with the videos, just drag the audio off that, which is a really easy thing to do if you
Yeah.
can, you know. I couldn't do it, but it's an easy thing to do if you
Yeah,
know what you're
someone
doing.
can do it, yeah.
Someone do it. Drag it off and then turn that into a podcast series. It's the only way. Like, it really is. It will get out there so much more, in
a
my
good call.
opinion.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
opinion.
All right. Thank you.
That's who I would. That's what I would do. Yeah.
Killer.
So who have you got there? What's the theme this year? Can you say it? Can't say.
We haven't. Yeah, no. I probably
Yeah.
shouldn't
yeah,
tell you all
yeah.
the details
No, that's fine.
before we
That's
do a
fine.
press release.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's fine.
we've got a really great lineup. We've got 2 overseas people, so we always kind of try and fly someone over.
Yeah.
We've got 2 great people from overseas, a bunch of really awesome local people,
Yeah.
some fantastic Melbourne restaurants doing food for lunch. The venue's a little bit bigger. Like each year, we've just kind of grown a little bit more and
Yeah.
got a bit more organised, and I think we're getting somewhere. You know, like we get such great feedback from people that come. You know, they really love it. I get a heap out of it. Like it's such a day of learning and education and inspiration.
Basically, I'm not comparing it, but
Yeah.
I guess this is what I'm trying to do with the podcast series. Is what
Yeah.
you're doing with that. Just
Totally.
talking, inspiring people, trying to
Yeah.
just get
Hear
the
people's
word out
stories,
there, hear
eh?
people's stories,
Yeah.
and maybe education,
Yeah.
and maybe people will go, you know what? I am going to start buying honey from a supplier.
Exactly
or
right,
I am
man.
going to start
Exactly right.
trying that different wine. Or I am going to
Yeah.
start going to the farmer's market as opposed to going to the supermarket. These are
Yeah.
the kind of things that we're trying to change.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
if that kind of stuff happens, then we've already made a difference.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And that's
exactly.
awesome.
Making a difference.
So yeah, I'll just do a quick plug. If you want to check it
Yeah,
out,
please, for sure.
You can go to www.growassembly.com.au and we'll be releasing tickets next month. So.
That's cool, and I'll definitely be there. You can come and, mainly come and see me, I'll be there. I'll be definitely coming for
Great.
sure.
Awesome.
I love it, just to be surrounded by them people. It's the same, like, sometimes I find, like, when you're working in the kitchen, just say you're on the floor or whatever, and someone you come in who you know, you've worked with, inspires you maybe a little bit, they come in, it gives you that little, almost like an adrenaline kick, a little bit of a endorphin hit or
big
whatever.
time,
Do you know
big
what I mean?
time. Yeah.
So especially with this in November, I'll come there, I'll listen to what's going on,
Yeah.
mix with them
Real
kind
spark.
of people.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, a bit of a lift.
Yeah.
Here we go, Christmas. Let's
Totally.
hit Christmas.
Yeah, we get a lot of people saying that actually, and that
Yeah.
feels so nice when people say that. Like they came and they were feeling like a bit down about something.
Because you feel in
just
and out of the
working so
industry,
hard.
don't you? You do feel in and out of it.
Yeah.
Because it's so tough.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you're like, I fucking hate this. I'm working my ass off. I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. But next
Totally.
thing you love it. It's in your blood. There's nothing you
that's
can
it.
do.
You can't escape.
But yeah, like you say, it's really
It's really nice to hear. Thank you. That's great.
The and now you're like you say, you have wine library,
Wine gallery.
Wine gallery.
Yeah.
I keep getting them mixed up because Gary V had wine library. Do you
Yeah,
know Gary V?
yeah, of course, yeah,
So
yeah.
Gary wine library and wine gallery. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck it.
No, all good, all good.
Which is a wine tech business. We've gone over that before.
Yeah.
And so basically, what it is you take a quiz. This is it, isn't it? You take a quiz, and it's a subscription style tech wine business which delivers wine to you going off your quiz. Is that right? Do you want to sum it up better than that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we are an online, personally curated wine subscription service. The
Personally
idea,
curated.
yeah.
That's the one.
So the
Yeah,
idea
yeah.
is to kind of use my skills as a sommelier, but rather than just
Absolutely.
being in a restaurant of 40 people each night, I can hopefully give wine suggestions to a much wider range of people.
Yeah.
And we do that by, there's a quiz to start with, so we ask for people's preferences, and then it's collecting data over time. So when we send out a first box of wine to people, ask for feedback, we take that feedback and we use it to modify their profile so that over time we're hopefully learning what each person enjoys the most, and we can tailor their wine package to them individually. So it's traditional wine club, you sign up, you pay your money, and then everyone gets the same box of wine every month.
Yeah.
So like, it doesn't matter what you like. You just get sent a box of wine.
Yeah.
You might hate half of them. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
We take a much more personalised approach. We want to give you exactly what you like to drink. And more than that, we want to provide a little bit of education and social activity around it. So every wine that you get comes with a recipe card. It comes with a little bit of a story about the winemaker. It comes with a tasting note that I've written. There's information on the wine region, where it comes from. We send out little gifts with the wine box. So there's little bits of food, there's wine knives, there's champagne stoppers, you get a tote bag, you get a gift for your birthday. It's really about creating a community of people who love wine and are happy to talk about it and share it, and making wine easy to understand, but also delivering delicious wine that is personally tailored to you.
That's fantastic, honestly. Again, jealous. I'm like, I don't want to be so jealous. I'm not jealous in a negative way. I'm more inspired than anything, to be totally honest with you, Banjo. So let's just say 100 people order it.
Yeah.
Out of them 100 people, how many of them will get the same wine? I'm just trying to think of a business.
So the way it works is every month I choose at least 12 new wines to add to our collection of wines, basically. But each person, the standard send-out box size is 3 wines.
Yeah.
So if you and I signed up and we did our preferences, in the first month we'd probably get 3 completely different wines each. So of those 100 people, there might be 5 or 10 people who get the same wines.
The same 3?
The same 3.
Shit, that's not many, is
But
it?
otherwise there's different combinations. Some people have preferences. They only drink red wine, or they don't drink any red wine, or they prefer full-bodied white wines, or it's summertime so they want sparkling and rosé, or they've got a birthday coming up so they want a sparkling wine, or
Can people ask that from next time, or in their comments or something? So
every month before we send them their box, we send them a little email saying, hey, it's nearly wine time. Like, this is what you're going to get. Like, this is what we think you're going to enjoy.
Right.
If there's something on there they don't like the sound of, or if they've got like a special occasion coming up and they want a bottle of sparkling, they can just say, no, I don't want that one, and then have a look at our whole collection at that point in time and choose one from there.
Yeah.
And so it just gets subbed
So
out and
approachable,
put it in the
isn't it?
box. Yeah, it is. And like,
So approachable.
people have said that. People have said, like, almost even more so than the wine, what they love is the experience. Like, it's really user-friendly, great customer experience, like all the gifts, all the feedback, like everything they're able to do outside of the wine is what they love.
When you have something that people are excited to come through the door, you went to a winner.
Totally. When people want to share it and tell their friends about it and stuff like that, that's brilliant. I love hearing it.
I've said to you before, I think the 3 wine thing is a genius. Honestly, I really do. I was like, that is so fucking smart. If it was me, I'd be trying to push I've said this, and I'm not shy. I would be trying to push the 6 or the 4 or the 5. I think 3, I'm like, is it worth doing? But man, it's smart. 3's smart. I was really like, that is such a smart.
Some wine clubs do like 12 a month, even 6 a month. Like
it's too much.
I work in the wine industry. I drink wine all the time, but I don't think that my wife and I would get through 6 bottles of wine in a month at home.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe we would on a good month, but otherwise, it's just nice to have.
Over the Christmas period, maybe.
Over the Christmas period, totally. You get through a few more, don't you?
Definitely. But like you say, that's 3. What you want as well is them 3 to be gone, and then maybe even gone a week before.
Totally.
Because
that's a really important part of our business.
Yeah, exactly. Because then you're waiting for it.
Yeah.
When you're waiting for something, it's like, oh, yes, it's right. You know what I mean? Or they might even go like, I'm sure you don't need, but they might say, oh, we'll go to Dan's and grab a bottle, and then they realise they've got to fucking look around, they're reading it. That all takes time as well.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean? If you're waiting and you even now and again have to go out and get something, they realise this is such a great deal. Do you know what I mean? This is fantastic.
Hope so.
Yeah. And then I just want to quickly go into the tech side of it.
Yeah, man.
How does all that everyone think it sounds really easy. Oh yeah, people just fill this data in and we find out what they want and it's as easy as that. But we all know that is a seriously complex piece of equipment that is getting all them notes and making it coordinate all. Because you can't go through every single one, surely. Is it like
everyone's personal preferences?
Yeah.
No. So there's two sides to it. So our third co-founder, there's myself and Tom, and our tech co-founder is a guy called Humberto, and he's responsible for building out our own tech platform, basically. The entire recommendation engine he built from scratch. So he uses all the data that is collected from each of our customers, but that's based off me analysing each wine. There's about 20 data points for each wine that I add to the system, that I go through and I taste everything before it gets uploaded.
So that would be like peach. or, or
so it's
oily?
all the different flavors, all the different textures, the level of acidity, the level of tannin. Is it dry or sweet? How much body does it have? How long could you age it for? Like, is it
geographical?
We did do that, but at the end of the day, we found that doesn't really affect the overall flavour and people's enjoyment too much. Like, it's an information piece, but it doesn't really affect how much people enjoy it. It's kind of me basically scaling each wine, and then that creates the information set for that wine, and then people giving their ratings on a wine, plus the initial kind of preference quiz starts to build up their profile, and that all goes into the recommendation engine. The recommendation engine can analyse all the wines that we've got in our collection, put the data points together from the styles of wine that people have said they enjoyed, and then match them up.
Fantastic. That is just fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, it's good, eh? But it can get even better, Like, we're working on a revamp of it to make it even more advanced, so that it really will become like when you go on Spotify and you listen to a song and it says, if you like this song, you'll probably like X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't know how they do that for music. Like, I understand wine. Like, how do they do it for music? Like, it needs a certain level of bass.
And,
exactly right.
Genre or whatever.
Like, I guess it's the same. But, that's what we're aiming for. So it'll say, like, you enjoyed this Pinot Grigio, you should try, like, this Albarino, this Riesling, X, Y, and Z. But when we get there...
You'd be happy.
Then we're on.
I think you're on now.
That's cool, man.
I'm like, fuck, that is... I would love... Yeah, fantastic. I'm in awe of that, honestly. I really am.
Thanks, bro.
I was just talking to a friend of mine about Uber.
Yeah.
They say, they take a good chunk. I think it's like nearly 25% of your ride or whatever.
Yeah.
And they are obviously making dollars, of course, big dollars. But I said, like, that piece of software, that app, it only looks like an app that you press. That costs... Imagine what it costs to build that. Seriously, man. Like, I dread to think, you're... All that time and the amount of people and constantly running it updated.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And you've got to be... Everyone, I listen to a lot of different business podcasts, and they say if you have a tech business, you need a tech founder.
Absolutely.
There's no two ways about it. That is you need one.
Yeah, so we have, for a while, we had someone else working in Brazil for us. So they were actually working on our downtime.
Yeah.
Because if something goes wrong at 3
so
a.m.
24/7.
Yeah, exactly right. Just keeping an eye on things, Like, if something happens to that recommendation engine at 3 a.m. in the morning our time, and everyone's asleep, and then you wake up at 6:30, there could be 3 or 4 hours where the whole thing is kaput, and someone might somewhere just be in their bedroom trying to do it. Just trying to use it, trying to buy wine, and it's not working, and they're like, "What the fuck's going on?"
You
you
can't have that, can you?
You can't have that. So it needs to be.
What about security in that aspect? Because people are giving credit card details.
Yeah.
And I know it's a lot less. People aren't as worried as they used to be. But there's people out there, especially no disrespect to anyone in the old generation, but there is. My mum would be like, "I'm not giving my bank details."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
My dad's the same, I guess. I don't know, like...
Is that a big part of the business? Do you need to get like a secure company to look after that? Or?
Yeah, you do, but everyone does, and the levels of security, the levels of encryption are pretty high these days. It's becoming rarer and rarer to have hacks through websites like ours. Like, it's like buying an airline ticket or anything like that. The chances are very, very, very low, and as you say, I think people are becoming far more comfortable.
I guess as well, like back in the day when there was only 2 million websites.
Yeah.
Now there's like 200 million.
Yeah,
Yours
exactly.
is a lot. And if you're only taking 5 million, whatever it is, and then you've got Facebook taking billions, well, that's probably, whatever. So where do you source the wines for this? Like
all over, hey? All over, yeah.
Do you use like obviously having the old wine importing business, that probably helps having their contacts.
Yeah.
So do you have like a distributor in America, a distributor in South Africa, one in France, or is it just like all in like New York or London?
So the majority of stock that we buy at the moment comes from distributors who are based in Australia but buy wine from all over the world.
Right, okay.
But recently we've started doing our own importing. So I actually just got back from a week in South Africa, and I was over there meeting people, visiting vineyards and stuff like that. And so we've imported a bunch of wine from South Africa.
So direct from the winery.
Yeah.
So what, then you just got to organise that getting onto a container and then getting shipped here?
Exactly right. So it becomes more of a logistics game rather than actually being a sommelier.
Yeah.
But that's what we're working on at the moment. So, I mean, obviously we're always going to have, probably at least 50% of our wine selection being Australian. But,
right, yeah.
But we're also working
Looking
on
after your own.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
That's
for
really
sure.
important.
100%.
But we also want to be able to source things that people can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
So if we can go direct to a winery in a country that's not necessarily being imported into Australia, I think that's fantastic. We're going straight to the source, so obviously we're cutting out the middleman.
They're getting better dollars on their
We're getting better dollars. We can deliver a better deal to our customers.
Yeah, exactly.
And it also means that they can't go to Dan's and just grab that same bottle off the shelf.
Yeah, you don't want to see it there. Yeah, exactly 100%. So wine sales are down on retail.
Yep.
But they're up on online businesses. If I've done my research right.
So overall in Australia, wine consumption is actually going down very, very slightly, but the overall spend is staying pretty similar. That's because people are maybe drinking a little bit less, but paying a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think like any industry, yes, online consumption is going up and traditional retail is slowly declining. And that's why you see a lot of the big liquor retail people expanding their reach into online. So, like people either go to Dan Murphy's or they buy through the Dan Murphy's website. Like that's a two-way thing as well. I think that's just the way everything's going. Like 20 years ago, if you wanted to book an airline ticket, maybe you had to call your travel agent. Now you just jump on the website. Teletext, you got it. But it's that kind of thing. Like anything you want to buy, like I can buy the world on my phone. Like it's about having that accessibility, that convenience. Obviously, a retail outlet is really important for having contact with your customers, for being able to show the product in a tangible kind of way.
So you saying, is that your wine bar? Is that what you said?
No. They're very separate businesses. But
okay.
We do events every now and then just to interact with people, to be able to present the wines to them so they can see the bottles, so they can taste them and things like that. I still think that's incredibly important.
Yeah.
But certainly the way that people purchase things, you just have to look at the rise of stuff like Amazon and eBay over the last 15 years to know that people are buying more things online. That's a given.
If you don't mind talking about it, you just raised a staggering amount of money.
Yeah.
I've seen that. First of all, how did you go about doing that? You're the first person I've ever met apart from like Silicon Valley, who I haven't met, but I feel like I'm talking to like Zuckerberg or someone, do you know what I mean? But, is that San Francisco raising capital for a tech business? That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, look, I'll be really upfront about it. I only had a small hand in it. So Tom, my co-founder, he really drove that forward. Like I said, he came from a banking background, and so he has a lot of contacts in that side of things. When he was working for Macquarie, some of the deals that he was doing, they were the kind of people that he was interacting with on a day-to-day basis anyway. But this is something else that's changing in the business landscape across the world, not just in Australia. There are more and more startup businesses that are striving to grow incredibly quickly. We didn't raise the capital because we had no money. We raised the money so that we could reinvest it straight away and grow the business at a much faster rate. Exactly right. So we've already spent some of the money that we've raised. We've hired more people. We've got a new warehouse. We've improved some of our systems. It's not because we were going bankrupt. Quite the opposite. It's just because we wanted to grow even faster and improve things, and make them better, make them stronger.
Is that so? The reality is, Dan Murphy's could do this. They could come and start building it. Is it to try and be like entry to market,
to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. Like there are already competitors in the space that we're playing in. There are bigger guys, people like Vino Mofo and Naked Wines and stuff like this. Like they're much bigger businesses than we are.
Yeah.
But we like to think that we are offering more than they're offering.
Better service.
For all their strengths, at the end of the day, they're still moderately traditional wine services. Like we like to think that our level of personalisation, customer service and care is ahead of theirs, and I don't want to brag, and I don't want to talk down about other businesses, but that's that's what we see as one of our big strengths, and so we want to continue building that out. So we've just hired another wine person to help with customer interaction and wine sourcing and things like that. We've taken on an operations manager. We've taken on a brand development person just to get the word out. Like as well as we're doing, we're still a really small business. Like we've got just under 5,000 subscribers. As you just said, there's 25 million people in Australia. Probably 15 million of those
adults.
Yeah, adults. Yeah. 10 million of them might drink wine. If we can go from 5,000 to 50,000, we're a much bigger business, and still only 50,000 out of 10 million. There's a heap of people drinking wine in Australia.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we just want to get a bit bigger,
It's
get a bit
exciting,
stronger.
though, isn't it? It's exciting. Raising capital and all that.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
It's again, I was talking about this. Obviously, if you say I don't want to talk about it,
No.
is it on a payback system or is it on a percentage?
Yeah, it's a percentage thing. So when we started, when the business was first founded, Tom, who's one of my co-founders, it was his idea. It was his intellectual property, and he approached me
because you got the wine knowledge.
I got the wine knowledge, exactly right. So he maintained a decent chunk of the business, and I took a smaller chunk.
Yeah.
And then we took on Humberto, who was the tech founder, and again, Tom distributed some of his ownership to Humberto. So now there were three of us, but still with Tom having the majority of those three. Yeah. And then when we go to raise capital, it's about selling
X% of each.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
You
so
take
now,
four off you, and I'll put 6 in, or whatever
exactly
it might
right.
be.
You got it. It's all equal depending on how much you have. So it's all an equal percentage, based on current ownership percentage. And so our overall ownership stake goes down, and the new shareholders.
But they bring a lot more to the party than maybe just even financials. Do you know what I mean?
Some of them do.
Because if
some of them are just money.
Yeah.
But
some of them. Yeah, exactly. That's all the one. That's part of the deal.
Right. Yeah.
But I guess as well, maybe not in this scenario, but they might have. These guys have obviously got big businesses. Let's just say they've got 1,000 employees. They maybe would even say, okay, well, I'm going to give them a 3-month subscription, or do you know what I mean? These kind of things, and that's going to inject into your.
There's plenty of benefits.
Yeah. It's playing with the big boys.
I think so. I think we're getting there.
Yeah, for sure.
No, it's exciting. Like we've been super happy. Like I said, we're 3.5 years old. We've got the biggest following of any wine company in Australia online. Yeah. So like Instagram and Facebook, we have the most amount of followers of any wine company. We have fantastic levels of feedback from all our customers. Month on month, we're getting more and more subscribers, and we just want to keep doing that. We believe in what we're doing. We love what we're doing. We think we're providing fantastic service as well as great wine. And if we can just keep on doing that for even more people, I think that's great.
And last thing on this one, what's your biggest marketing tool for that, would you say? Word of mouth, social media?
In terms of overall numbers, definitely social media. Like we pay for ads on Facebook.
Yeah, so
but we have a really strong following on Instagram anyway.
Yeah.
So continual posting on Instagram, targeted, paid for Facebook advertising. And
it's fantastic, isn't it? How good is it?
And then there's a small amount of word of mouth.
Yeah.
People obviously, when they receive their box, taking a photo, sharing it, telling their friends. Like it's all about that community side of things.
Yeah. And then this summer, what wine should we be looking for this summer?
So it's kind of been a bit of a trend, I guess, for the last couple of years, but I think this year it's going full tilt explosion. Everyone is going to be drinking rosé.
Oh, I knew you were going to say
rosé. Like I said, it's not necessarily a new thing.
No, but I love it. I've probably got into it like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But great with charcuterie.
Great with charcuterie. That is the main thing that we pair it with on the Wine Gallery.
Yeah.
I think fantastically, Australian producers have got their heads around making them dry, lower in alcohol, refreshing, plenty of acidity.
They're not bright pink, are they?
Exactly right. They've still got a bit of texture, but they're just super refreshing.
And what producers, if you can say, should we be looking at? A value point, nothing crazy. I know that you're very approachable to wine, and you
totally. Yeah. So we only started this last year, actually, but we're doing it again this year, and it's called the 12 Wines of Christmas. It's basically modelled off an advent calendar, but it's an advent calendar for grown-ups. So you get 12 wines, and you can open those throughout the month of December.
I'm in.
You're in?
I'm
in. You do it. It's the best.
Yeah.
So it comes in a custom-made little box, and every couple of days you can pop open the top and pull out your bottle of wine. It's really magic.
Fuck.
So we've got a couple of different rosés in there, but the one that I think is that offers really amazing value is from the Barossa Valley in Australia. It's made by a winery called Spinifex.
And
you know it?
Yeah, I know it, course.
Yeah, cool.
So we used to do the Drifters Table, a pop-up restaurant.
Yeah.
And Ash Baburka.
Yeah,
he got me onto that.
Ah, sweet. That's great.
And that's great value as well.
It's
a great value.
Really good wine.
Yeah.
So we've got that in there. We've also got a really awesome Italian rosé that we've imported ourselves.
Yeah.
We've got a few different things, and various different styles. Some with a little bit more richness, some with a bit more acidity. It's about offering just a little bit of
rosés a go.
Rosés a go. You got it.
Yeah, rosé and charcuterie, guys. Yeah, for sure.
It's the double plug.
Yeah, exactly. If people do want to subscribe to the wine, Here we go.
Don't
Wine
call
gallery.
Don't call it the wine library.
Wine gallery.
The wine gallery.
Yeah.
Real easy. Just jump online, www.thewinegallery.com.au. Follow the prompts there. Ask you to do a little quiz if you're up for it. Otherwise, you can just put in your email address. We are a subscription-based business, but you don't have to subscribe. If you just want to jump online and buy a couple of bottles at any given time, you can do that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
You can also do like intermittent subscription. If you don't drink very much and you think even 3 bottles per month is going to be too much, you can do like three bottles this month, skip the next month.
Do you have to manually do that, or can you put that in at the beginning?
You can put it in at the beginning to do a pause for a certain amount of time, but then after that you need to to manually do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, otherwise you can follow us on Instagram.
And the 12 days of Christmas is through there, is through the...
Yeah, we haven't made it for sale just yet. It's being launched in a couple of weeks' time. The wines are arriving in our warehouse the next couple of weeks. We're going to be frantically unpacking them, wrapping them and reboxing them, and then we'll be sending them out from the start of November.
Right, that's the go. That's definitely the go. To finish, red or white wine?
Me personally?
Yeah, personally. All you, quick fight. Like, what would you, red or white?
White.
White?
Yeah.
Any specific?
I love Riesling,
yeah,
Chenin Blanc, and Chardonnay.
Yeah, Chenin Blanc.
Yeah. I was just in South Africa. They grow heaps of Chenin Blanc. Some fantastic stuff coming out of South Africa at the moment.
Yeah,
really exciting. Yeah.
That's great. I see. Did you see that thing? A lot of the farmers are getting murdered. Have you seen that?
Yeah. It's a slightly more dangerous country than I was expecting in South Africa. I mean, I don't like saying that about a place I've only been to for a week, but there's definitely some tension there. It's tough.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Sparkling or still water?
I generally drink sparkling water when I go out to a restaurant.
Yeah, it's a treat, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it?
It's a treat, yeah. A margarita or a cosmopolitan?
Neither. What a terrible question. I can't remember. I'd probably go a margarita. Yeah.
Scotch or bourbon?
Probably Scotch. Yeah.
And hot dog or burger?
Oh, a tough one. Probably a burger, but only just. Yeah. That one's real tough. I love both.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to follow you on Instagram or
whatever
else?
So I'm on Instagram as Banjo HP. Yeah, Bar Liberty is on there as Bar Liberty. Everything's really straightforward.
Yeah.
You can look up the Wine Gallery, Bar Liberty, Capitano, Carlton, or Grow Assembly.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Banjo. I much
Robbie,
appreciate your time.
Man, it's been great.
Yeah,
really nice
awesome.
to catch up.
Thanks very much.
Nice to see you, man.
If you're looking for a new podcast and you're into MMA or into just being a good person, or generally there's a lot of MMA or fitness or training. There's a great podcast run by Paddy Houlihan, who used to be a UFC fighter. He's a good friend of Conor McGregor. His podcast is called No Shame. He's out in Ireland, but he's just trying to spread the word. It's a great podcast. It's about an hour and a half. Heaps of different stories, the struggles of MMA fighters, the struggles of parenthood with children with Asperger's, and how you can help them, and how nutrition helps them, or inspiring stories about a guy who rode. I think he rode halfway around. It wasn't halfway around the world, granted, but it was a fucking long way on his own in a rowing boat. There's heaps and heaps of stories, and there's loads of insight to what it's like to be a fighter, the nerves and all the rest of it. So it's called No Shame, run by Paddy Houlihan, and it's a great listen. So I'm going to start telling more people about podcasts, different podcasts that I listen to, because people do ask me what podcast do I listen to. So No Shame, run by Paddy Houlihan. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please tell a friend or give us a rating or review on your podcast app. It all helps to get more listeners. Thanks. Until next week, have a good one.